Well, good morning, everybody. The Pokemon Presents ended about an hour ago. I didn't watch the Pokemon Presents live, but this was more than likely one of the biggest Pokemon Presents that we were going to get this year. In terms of the hype and the build-up, and in terms of where the future of the Pokemon games will be headed. And essentially, we kind of got a very big swerve in terms of the direction that Pokemon is going. And to say that, I guess you could say I'm feeling all sorts of emotions. Um, I'm intrigued. I'm kind of upset. And in some cases, somewhat disappointed, to be honest, but that's just me. Um, Other fans, from what I've seen on social media, are excited, happy, and things like that. So, listen, you know, um, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I'm happy that it looks like it's going to clearly be the new Pokemon game is going to be clearly taking place um in the region that that some people wanted it. Now, coming off Scarlet and Violet, which I thought they were pretty good games outside performance issues, they were really good games. I liked it. I liked the story. I liked the character developments in the stories. Maybe at some point I'll have to do a review on the Scarlet and Violet and their respective DLCs and everything at some point. Maybe I'll just have to replay through the game and just give my thoughts and everything. But yeah, I liked everything Scarlet and Violet had to offer. Apparently, we're also getting Terra Raid battles to get the three starters for the Kanto region, because today's the day. Like, they're obviously blue, red, and green were created and everything. But yes, the big hype around this Pokemon Presents was really just like, okay, are we gonna get what we predicted we're going to get? Are we going to get a Pokemon Legends game as well as a remake of that said generation? And the two biggest predictions people were giving was that we potentially be getting a Pokemon Legends Kyurem or a Pokemon Legends Johto game. And if it was one of those, we could be getting potentially a regular Pokemon remake game of that game, whether it was Generation 5 or Generation 2. Now, and the reason behind that is because there was so many teases. You go look at freaking the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero Part 2. Really, actually, no, just in general. Scarlet and Violet from the jump, when you had the freaking um Terra Raid battle with the freaking Paradox Suicune and the Paradox Virizion. And then the DLC expanded upon that, and they gave you freaking Paradox Entei and Raikou and Paradox Cobalion and Terrakion. And I'm just like thinking from afar, I'm like, they're teasing, and then Pokemon on their social media channels, they're doing like these art styles of the Johto games and the Unova games and videos and this and that. I'm just like, we're either getting a Pokemon Legends Johto or a Pokemon Legends Kyurem game. We're getting something. And that's gonna be the next Legends game right then and there. Because listen, it makes sense. It looks like they're promoting this, but leave it to Pokemon, where I guess they completely bait and switch us, and they basically took everybody's predictions and preparations and everything, unless I guess if you expected the unexpected to happen. And it completely swerved everyone, thinking like, oh, you guys thought you were getting Pokemon Legends Johto or Pokemon Legends Kyurem, going back to Unova. Uh-uh. Eh-eh. You're gonna, here you go. And basically, we're going to get a Pokemon Legends game centered around in the Kalos region. Yes, we're returning back to Gen 6. Returning back to Gen 6. Mega Evolutions are coming back. And the game title is called Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, the ZA is pretty big because if you reverse those letters, it spells out AZ. If you remember the character AZ from the Pokemon X and Y video games and his whole story and his whole backstory about living for over 3,000 years to find his Floette, basically, because he unleashed the ultimate weapon and things like that. Um, Obviously, the Z part was pretty big and it had cells in it, which is a reference to Zygarde. So we're going back to the Kalos region. We're going back to Gen 6 stuff. Mega Evolutions are coming back. It looks like finally, after all these years, the X and Y came out in 2013. So 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2023, 2024. So 12, 13 years? Yeah, no. 12 years. I think 12 years. 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2020. Well, in that range of, I think, yeah, 13 or 14 years. The game's releasing in 2025. So it will be 14 years, around 13 to 14 years to the date. Um, Pokemon X and Y were released. Um, and if you go back to that time period, and when you go back and you look on those games now, oh boy, were those games a mess? And the bad part is those games were a mess, or they weren't treated with the love and care because at that time, those were the first games on the Nintendo 3DS. The very first games. It's funny. And Pokemon did the same exact thing with freaking Galar too. They really didn't really care about Galar putting it on Switch, and it was kind of like a half-assed type of thing. And they clearly half-assed it with Kalos. So you can see why they went back to Kalos, why they skipped over. Now, okay, let's answer the question. Why did they skip over a potential Legends Johto or a potential Legends Kieran game? Um, all right, listen. Johto, they can always go back to Johto at any time because Johto is iconic. Now, when I was watching the Pokemon Presents and I saw the unknown, I'm like, okay, if you're giving me unknown, you're teasing, you're already saying that this game might potentially be Pokemon Legends Johto. And even before they showed the trailer to Pokemon Legends ZA, they showed Pikachu walking alongside freaking unknown and the one unknown just being left by itself. And I'm like, we're getting a Pokemon Legends. We're getting a Pokemon Legends Johto game. At that point, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll take it. That's fine. I wanted Legends Kieran, I'm fine. But they completely bait and switch you. Um, and even when the trailer first starts off, they talk about an um urban redevelopment plan or something like that. Or hold on, I got the official website. An urban redevelopment plan. Um, and one of the building structures, I'm like, that looks like something you might see in Johto. But then when they did like the 3D looking like trailer, and then you see Lumio's tower in the background, that's when I'm like, wait, this can't be Johto because the only place with the Eiffel Tower connection is the Pokemon X and Y games because of Lumio City, and then they take the tag off of the place they were hidden and basically said Lumio City, and they confirmed like, okay, this game's gonna be taking place in the Kalos region. Um, the reasons why is they made it skipped over. They clearly did this to for bait and switch purposes. They lured the fans into thinking, "Oh, you're gonna get these games. You're gonna get these games." Okay, no, we're actually gonna go in a different direction. That too, Johto, they can always go back. Now, as for Unova, maybe they view Unova as like the one thing they probably don't probably want. And I've seen this on social media. Maybe the Pokemon Company view Unova as a region where, okay, we cannot retouch this. What's done is done. It's perfect in our eyes. We do not want to go back to that. Now, maybe that's the case in the form of a remake. like a remake of a game. But if it's a Pokemon Legends game, they need to visit the Unova region because there are still mysteries in the Unova games to certain Pokemon, and especially the original Dragon that was a fusion between Zekrom and Reshiram, and I think even Kyurem as well. Um, but mostly, I think it's just a fusion between Zekrom and Reshiram. But you get the point. People wanted a Legends Kyurem game just so we could see that original dragon and get the story there. And especially with all the teases that they gave us in the DLCs for Scarlet and Violet, especially the fact that you had the second DLC literally take place in the Unova region, had characters completely related to Universe gym leaders, literally. That's the thing. Now, maybe that was the thing right then and there. Maybe the DLCs were that because DLC Part 1, it had more of a Johto-like scheme to it, and then DLC Part 2 clearly had its Unova theme because it's literally based in the Unova region. And maybe that was Pokemon's way of saying, okay, here's your Johto and Unova remakes, more your here's your Unova remakes. We teased a Unova game. We teased a Unova game that may or may not happen in the future. So maybe they just didn't want to touch Unova and they're like, you know what, let's not do this. Let's not. They're already perfect enough games on its standalone self. Let's not do it now. Is there a chance that we get a Legends game in the future after this Legends game? Potentially. More than likely. Like Pokemon Company would be crazy not to do a Pokemon Legends Kyurem game at some point. That's going to make them money. Now, maybe they just didn't want to do a standard remake in the same style as fucking BDSP, which thank God, if we had another game style or another main remake game in the style of BDSP from Illica Studios or whatever, I would have been heated because I did not like BDSP. I think BDSP are one of the worst Pokemon remake games to date, if not the worst Pokemon remakes, because it's literally just a copy and paste of Diamond and Pearl. Nothing to do with Platinum. Nothing new. It's not like Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire. Again, I will say this. I said this when I made the video about it on my Pokemon Legends Arceus. The remake for Gen 4 was Pokemon Legends Arceus. And this is probably going to be the remake for Generation 6. This is going to be everybody's Pokemon Z game that they were clamoring for back at the time. And and 14 years later, we're gonna finally get that Pokemon Legends Z where they're finally gonna finally give love to the Kalos region and actually very much well develop and actually give Zygarde an important role to do in the game. So yes, now on the Pokemon Twitter, it says this game's gonna be taking place entirely in Lumio City. So I'm not already like excited about these games as a fan. I'm not excited about these games because before I get into the reason why I'm not so gun ho on this entirety type of thing. The reason why I'm not as hyped for a Pokemon Legends Kalos game or a Gen 6 game is one of this. One, I think it's too soon to go back to the Kalos region. I understand I just said like, oh, it's gonna be 14 years. 14 years is a long time. But when you look at generations, we just had Generation 8, or no, Generation 9. Then we just had Generation 10, 8, then Generation 7, Generation 6. So we've had 3 generations since then. So maybe that's long enough to some people in my eyes. I think that's way too soon, but all right, fine. Like I was thinking when we get Gen 10, that's when you do your Generation 6 remakes, but they wanted to get close. And then second, the reason why I'm not too hyped is because Pokemon X and Y aren't very appealing games to me, to be honest. Like they're not games I go back to frequently to play. Like the games I go back to frequently play are like the Sun and Moons, the Black and Whites, the Johto games, the Sinnoh games, Pokemon Platinum specifically, but you get my drift. I don't I have I don't go back to the Kalos region because I like playing the game. I only go back to play Kalos region games if I want to do a Nuzlocke or a different variation of a Nuzlocke. That's the only way, and then I obviously have to make the game harder than it is because you have the stupid like EXP share that was so OP at the time. Unless you turned it off, your Pokemon would be crazy over leveled by the time you got to the third gym. But you get my point. There was no like love or care built into into the Pokemon X and Y games. It was like, all right, here's the new Pokemon games. Enjoy. The story, there wasn't really any story. There was like a slight bit of a story when it came to AZ and then Lysander and the freaking stuff about what happened in the past and everything about the freaking ancient weapon and everything. But even then, still like it was all like kind of like a whole build up for something big and grand, and then it kind of lets you down at the end. You're like, that's it. They made Xerneas and Yveltal kind of irrelevant legendary Pokemon. Like, and then obviously Zygarde in post game. What's his face? Zygarde's just in freaking, I think, Terminus Cave. Nothing else built upon that. That's it. Nothing else. So people are like, okay, who's this weird third legendary Pokemon? What's it about? And we get absolutely nothing. When I tell you the Pokemon anime, Pokemon X, Y, and Z, the anime, handled Zygarde and his storyline better than how the Pokemon games handled it. Shit, you could just say the Pokemon anime story is 10 times better than anything the games ever did. And they gave Zygarde a better story in the anime compared to anything, to whatever lackluster shit they gave him to do in the games with his 100% form. And on top of it, the time we don't get access to that Zygarde isn't until Generation 7. And even then, in Generation 7, he plays absolutely no role. It's just a Pokemon. You can go around the freaking Alola region, collect its cells, and if you get all its cells, you get its 100% form. That's it. That's all you're going to get with Zygarde. That's it. Again, the anime, with Ash Ketchum still running the show at the time, did a better explanation about Zygarde's lore. And even in the anime, you can make some argument that they barely touched into the lore other than the Zygarde cells and cores and things like that. But you get my point, and you can see like the power Zygarde has and why he's so dominant over freaking Yveltal and Xerneas. So you can see why my excitement for a Pokemon Legends ZA game or a Pokemon Legends Z game is. And then one of the fact that it's kind of like, okay, this game's in gonna be taking place entirely within Lumio City. Is from what the Pokemon Nintendo account tweeted out this morning too. That also kind of lowers my expectation. Like, so wait, we're not gonna go anywhere else in the Kalos region. We're just strictly gonna stay in Lumio City. Now, listen, with the game being on Switch, they can make Lumio City a lot bigger. And basically when they did the overhead shot, it looks pretty big. Um Now, I don't know how they're gonna tell a story in a single city, and especially a story in regards to um Zygarde. But maybe this is just another bait and switch swerve where like, okay, we're gonna say like the main story really takes place entirely within Lumio City, but you can go out on the outskirts of Lumio City and basically do that. Maybe that's what they're doing, and maybe that's what they're doing, and they're kind of bait and switching like they did us with just the official game announcement. They could be doing that too. So we could be going to outside of the Lumio City and other parts of the Kalos region, and they just use that as a point to say, well, like the main stories will start and conclude here, in Lumio City. Um, so that's the thing. Now, personally, it's interesting that they decided that like the last place in Lumio City would the like one of the biggest area, I guess, where the story will probably conclude is Lumio City. Now, maybe they could say like, "Oh, that was the original battle place of this ancient war between the Pokemon and things like that." So yes, whatever. Listen, there are, as much as I'm disappointed, there are some good to this. Mega evolutions are coming back. Mega evolutions are coming back. It was basically everybody's favorite gimmick. Everybody loved Mega Evolution. If there's anything positive to come out of the original X and Y games, Mega Evolution was probably the best. Everybody loved Mega Evolutions. And then the gimmicks after Mega Evolution, let's be honest, they don't hold a candle to Mega Evolution. Z moves, they were fine. Well, I guess Terrasilize, it's all right. Um, Freaking Gigantamax or Dynamaxing. That's the worst out of all the freaking gimmicks they've been doing since Gen 6. That by far the worst. For me, it goes like this. Z Mega Evolution's the best, then it's Z moves, then it's Terastallizing, and then it's freaking Dynamax. And when I mean Dynamax, it's low on the priority list. Like Dynamax sucks. It's nothing special but your Pokemon going giant and using these big gigantic Pokemon moves. Other than that, nobody gives a shit about Dynamaxing. My God. We're talking about freaking this game needs to do its justice and revive the Kalos region. Whenever they get a Pokemon Legends Galar, holy hell, they better do wonders with that because Galar isn't that good. Galar isn't good too. It's got interesting lore, but let's be honest, the Galar games were not that good. Whew. Other than maybe like the character development in those games. The only thing I'll say, like character development wise, they were good, but the gameplay is all right. No, hold on a quick second. Okay, wrapping this video up. Um, yeah, that's kind of the thing. That's yeah. And then I, it's simple. At the end of the day, they're making this game for a pot, and the positive is they're going back to the Gen 6 games so they can right the wrongs that they wronged for everything that happened in Gen 6, so then they can be able to do it right and make the fans happy who love that gen, who honestly feel like that gen was shafted in their opinion because, well, hey, listen, you know, that's what some people think. They think they had a great game of Pokemon games, but the Pokemon Company didn't show any love or care to the X and Y games and Zygarde, and they never went back to fix the wrong. So this can be a good. Again, I was hyped for Pokemon Legends Arceus. I'm not really hyped for this game, to be honest. I'm not really hyped. And again, like I said, with this game taking place entirely within um just Lumio City, it better be game of the year for Nintendo out of all the games they drop in 2025. And that leads me to my last positive is the fact that this game's gonna be taking place, or this game's going to be coming out in 2025. So we're not getting this game this year, and we don't even know when it's going to release at some point in 2025. We don't know what time span or what time frame. It just says it will release worldwide 2025. So we potentially could be getting here's so it could come out in the winter, it comes out in the fall, it could come out in spring, it could come out in summer, it could come out in the fall of 2025. We don't know that. What I think I personally think they should do, what I think they need, Pokemon Company needs to do. One, I'm happy that they are not going to rush this game out and put this game out in 2024. They're not going to give us a Pokemon game in 2024. So we're probably just going to get Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Terra Raid updates and things like that, which fine with. That's fine. I don't really care. I don't really do Terra Raids unless it's a Pokemon that I clearly want, but you get my point. Fine. What I think when 2025 comes, don't release it in the wintertime. Don't release it in the spring. You can either release this game at the end of the summertime or do what they typically like to do, which is release games in the fall around November, December-ish type of area, because that's where they typically release their game. If they drop their game around that time frame, they typically do it in November, December-ish area time. These people, Pokemon Company will effectively work on this game for 2 full years, essentially, basically, which I think is probably in its best interest because that will show you, okay, we put a lot of time, effort, development, and we want to make sure we get this thing right. And I bet you they're doing this. They made this decision because they heard everybody complaining about the performance issues in Scarlet and Violet. And I appreciate the fact that they're not gonna rush a game just to rush a game so they can make money off of it and then try to fix the bug issues with a few update patches. No, take your time with these games. You know your IP makes a lot of money based off two video games. You can wait 2 to 3 years to come out with the next Pokemon game. People can be patient, wait, and then get the next game when enough time has passed. And I think, and that's been Pokemon's problem. They rush these games out so fast because they want to make them bottom dollar money. And because they act as if they're like freaking some no name freaking publisher. And instead of actually taking time in development to put time and effort into your game to make sure it's the best game for your said generation, so then you can use this game and go off this game for 4 to 5 years as you're developing the next game for that amount of time, boom, that's fine. You're good. I think that's the biggest thing that I love coming out of this game trailer announcement for Pokemon Legends ZA. We're not going to get this game this year. We're going to get this game next year. And mind you, if they drop it in the fall of 2025, we will basically be getting 2 years of development for this game. That's more than enough time to make sure all the performance issues are right, the graphics look good, the game mechanics are all properly ran, everything is good. And then on top of it, building a story where you can finally explain about Zygarde and go into the Zygarde lore and the lore about mega evolutions and blah 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 blah. Simple as that. And if that's anything to take away from this announcement, it's the fact that we're getting this game next year, hopefully late 2025. I don't want to see it come out in early 2025 with like Pokemon Legends Arceus. I'd rather this game come out late 2025, so then you will effectively worked on this game for almost about 2 years, and this game will be good. That should be enough. And if that is going to be the strategy Pokemon has going forward, where they announce a new Pokemon game, and they'll be like, no, we're gonna delay releases to like about 2 to 3 years from the last Pokemon game. I'm fine with that. So that's the thing. Mega evolutions are coming back. The Kalos region's back. Zygarde will be coming back. Looks like he's gonna be an integral focus. Um, it's an exciting time to be a Pokemon fan if you're liking this. Now, personally, I want Legends Kyurem. This game really doesn't do it for me. They better knock my socks off to be really like gun ho about going back to Kalos. But again, it's a Pokemon Legends game, and if there's anything about Pokemon Legends, I loved playing the first Legends game, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for this Pokemon Legends ZA game. It better be damn good, because if it ain't, well then what the fuck are we doing here? That's why you should have went to the cash cow. You should have went to Unova. But we got to go back to Kalos. We got to find a way to redeem Kalos. That's their thinking. I'm fine with that. They want to redeem Kalos. Redeem Kalos by all means necessary. It definitely needs it, for crying out loud. Anyways, I'm gonna get up here. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on the Pokemon ZA trailer announcement, teaser trailer, your thoughts on Pokemon ZA in general. Do you like this? Were you thinking we were gonna get another Pokemon Legends game? Or are you just hyped and excited for this? Put in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Pokemon content. I'm not gonna play the game on the channel, but when the game comes out, I'll probably do a review at that point in time and give my thoughts and things like that. And maybe I'll do other update videos and things like that. But we'll see, we'll see. We didn't get any gameplay of the game yet, so we can't really see how the game will look. But definitely eager for the next trailer dropping about gameplay and things like that. So gonna be interesting. Anyways, catch you guys in the next video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Peace.